Welcome back, everybody, to the Dusty Bender Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chance Watson, with you as always, Taylor Wells. Episode 117 coming at you guys today. We are recording on August 9th, the night of August 9th. So we actually have a little bit of hockey news to talk about. But folks, this is going to be a very special episode for us, isn't it, Taylor?
Oh, it sure is. I'm
Boy,
excited about it.
we have got some stuff to talk about. Before we get into it, folks, want to give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network. Absolute beauties over at the Hockey Podcast Network. Go on to the hockeypodcastnetwork.com and check out all the shows within the network. Just a couple shout outs to give on all of those. We've got the Coliseum Chronicles folks. They've been interacting with us on our Twitter feed. Of course, obviously, Devil's State of Mind podcast. Great show over there. Yep. Also, we've been becoming friends lately with a certain Vegas Golden Knights one, the Vegas Fever podcast.
That's a newer one on the THPN, I believe.
It is, yes, yep. Brand new. Hoping to do actually some work with them in the future here. We are going to be, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, we are going to be going to the Kraken home opener on October 17th in Seattle. They will be taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, a nice little rematch from previous years. They play them a lot during the season, it seems like. So
yeah, six times, right, or something like that.
That's nuts. So taking on the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first home game of the year should be a good one. We will be there, hopefully linking up with the Vegas Fever podcast in some way, shape, or form. Maybe a little friendly wager is in order. Maybe they'll pay their debts, unlike the Grindline podcast.
Oof. Shots fired. Yeah, I know.
Ooh.
Fuckers. I'm getting thirstier every day, not having that fucking beer.
Maybe we'll have to go to the other Red Wings game and we'll do double or nothing.
There you go. Or we just have enough fan support that they send us to the fucking it's not Joe anymore, is it? What is it?
Little Caesars. It's unfortunately Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah, send us to Little Caesars and you would be so torn. We'll have to get you a half and half jersey or something.
I mean, we went to the Red Wings Kraken game last year.
Yeah,
it was tough.
True.
It was really tough.
I know you switched mid-game. We talked about it.
It's because I bought a jersey. Like I was owning the Red Wings jersey up until the third period, and then you and I drunkenly spent $250 each on jerseys.
$250 per jersey.
Oh, don't remind me. Woof. Jesus, what a waste of money that was. Okay, yeah. At least one of the jerseys. Anyway, also to shout out the Sensational podcast. On Twitter, we've been having a bit of friction with some Senators fans out there who think that they're the next coming of the 96 Red Wings, but...
Ooh.
Was that too specific? Do I need... how about the 92 Penguins?
Oh, that's the year I was born, bro. That's a great year.
It's a good year. Also, shout out to the Late Arrivals podcast. They've been interacting with us. They are a Ducks podcast.
The Quack Attack, huh?
And it's pretty good considering there's not much reason to be excited about being a Ducks fan nowadays. So,
I mean, we might, they might trade John Gibson at some point during the season. So
that could be exciting.
Oh, and they brought in Alex Stalock this week.
Whoa.
So, yeah, big news out of Anaheim, man.
Big news out of Anaheim. That's true. All right, so, folks, normally we'd go into the hub and also talk about our newest sponsor, Mike Crawford Photography, but we're just going to lead that right into the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had an absolute experience of a lifetime, really.
Sure did.
Thank you to Mike Crawford. We're going to start that out right now. Mike is an absolute beauty and hooked us up, the Dusty Bender podcast, with media passes to the Showcase Golf Tournament, benefiting the Community Cancer Fund. Excellent cause to raise money for. Hooked us up with tickets and passes to go out there. We spent the day out on the Coeur d'Alene Resort golf course, taking in the rays, throwing back some drinks, and rubbing shoulders with some of the NHL's best. And God, I don't know much. I had an absolute fucking blast.
I mean, one of the best days, and I'm married, right? So I have that on as one of my top days,
I
obviously.
think
But
you have to say that.
yeah, like I mean, that's just contractually, I have to say, my married day.
Right. I was
But
there for
yeah,
that too, but
you sure were.
mhm.
But yeah, dude, Mike is such a beauty. Like he put on a great show. It was honestly just a really good. Um, the whole event was good. There was a ton of people there. I mean, we kind of showed up and it was a little quiet. And talking with Mike, he was like, "Oh, you just wait." And sure as
Yep.
shit, it got fucking packed. And they put on a good show and they did it for a good cause. So yeah,
Everybody.
just really a good time, man.
I mean, I would say that most of the celebrity golfers were hockey players, but man, there was everybody there. In fact,
Oh,
the Gonzaga fucking basketball team showed up.
signing autographs. Yep. Yep.
That was just absolutely so cool. Mike put on just a tremendous event. We were able to nail down a couple great, awesome people. We got some great photos with some people, and even a couple quick, great interviews with people. If you guys saw us on Twitter, we are actually going to feature the interview that we did with Chris Chelios, folks.
Jelly.
If you see that, he signed the hat right there. That's I'm gonna be having this hat for the rest of my life. Um,
Yeah,
Chris Chelios
I was gonna
coming
say you
on.
probably need to clean that hat, but you definitely don't want to do it now.
Nope.
It's
No,
got this.
it's
It's got the sweat all over it, dude.
yeah. Oh no, this is gonna stay sweaty and awesome for the rest of my life
Good for you.
because Chris Chelios is an absolute. How long did he play till? 42?
It's like one of the oldest guys to play in like the modern era, I
44
believe.
maybe?
40. I
He
want to say
got up
42.
there.
I want to
And
say 42.
I want to say he's one of the rare players that was both a Blackhawks and Red Wing legend.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I've got my facts right on that. I obviously knew him as a Red Wings fan because what?
Oh,
What?
Chelly retired when he was 48.
No, he did not.
40 fucking 8. Chelios
That's
is tied with Gordie Howe for the most seasons played in the NHL at 26.
that's
seasons.
unheard of.
Good God, dude.
God, so with the golf course, he had to be like 70, right?
I mean, he's got to be pushing daisies here in the next at least 30 years. Like, I mean, he's getting close, right?
He is getting up there.
I mean, let's see what his last year was, because then that'll kind of tell us, right? So if he retired at 48,
that's a tough one.
it's crazy,
I just know
man.
before we played the interview for you guys, like Chelios was an absolute fucking beast out on the course. He was having a great time. His threesome going out and teeing off was probably arguably the best threesome of the day.
Oh,
Going
stupid
out there
stacked.
with John Cooper and Wayne fucking Gretzky.
Yeah, you heard of him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Um,
Chelly is 61, 62, somewhere in there.
I've got I purposely left the pamphlet right next to us so I could read this off when we started recording here. So some names that you guys might know from the NHL were Bobby Ryan, Doug Waite, Tyler Johnson, Grant Fuhrer, Sheldon Surrey. Does Janet Gretzky count?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Janet Gretzky. Let's see here.
She's apparently won that tournament before.
No shit, really?
Yeah, dude, she's
know
apparently
that.
a sick golfer, dude.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Chris Chelios, John Cooper, Wayne Gretzky, Ray Whitney, Mark Rippon's football, Jeremy Roenick, Brendan Morrow. So those are just some NHL greats. But folks, this whole list is just filled
Stacked.
with celebrities of different sports. Who was your favorite non-NHL guy there, Taylor?
Ooh. I mean, I'm always going to be a fangirl of Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is just a good dude.
Yep.
I got to kind of, say hi to him, but him and Jerome Bettis were kind of in the golf and beer mode.
Fair.
The other guy, so I got some knuckles from Dustin Pedroia, who was an MLB player, so that one was pretty cool too. So I'd say that's it's probably between those three guys. Jerome Bettis buried a fucking birdie putt at the birdie bar hole. So Jerome Bettis he lives in infamy now.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, of course. My favorite, one of my favorite memories from that day was Gretzky was on the 15. And for those who are not familiar, the 15 was this: if you birdied that hole, it was half off beers for everybody.
fuck yeah.
Coronas, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
I think it was Coronas. So Gretzky comes up and he just yells out. I don't even know if it was for birdie or not. He's on a putt. He got on the green and he's like, "I make this half off beers for everybody." And everybody starts, cheering him on. Everybody's having a good time. And then Gretzky literally goes up and just picks the ball up and puts a fist up into the air. And everybody's like, "Yeah!"
Oh yeah, and so they were basically just because I think Jerome Bettis, so he sunk his, and so we went up and got ours, right, and then I think Gretzky came through and they were like 10 more minutes of half off beers, and we were like, fuck yeah, dude,
hell yeah. We just loaded up
shit.
on some Coronas. I think we were double fisting at one point.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that makes sense. But no, so okay, favorite moment of yours from the day. What do you got?
Oh, I mean, all the interviews were great. I think the interviews were great. I love golf, right? So just watching, guys, amateurs like me kind of swing the club is kind of fun. Sure. Honestly, standing over, using our media passes to be a little bit, be
closer to the action.
Be closer to the action, be those guys, and just standing over by the DJ booth on 18, I think was probably, I mean, it's not like a specific moment, but he was like freestyle rapping.
That guy was really good. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head.
Dude, he was so sick. And it was cool to kind of stand over there and, just bullshit with the guys and, kind of see the guys come off the 18th and man, it was, just the whole day. It was unreal.
It was pretty good. I would say up there, I mean, I think, God, one of the moments that stands out to me was like how randomly we ran into Bobby Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Like talking with him was super great. And shout out to our buddy DJ Maxey. One day we'll convince him to come on the show.
Fucking trooper, man.
DJ came out and had an absolute blast with us. Glad he came. But we were walking toward the 18th, and we were literally talking amongst ourselves. We were like, God, we probably missed Bobby Ryan. Like we were kind of pissed off about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was either you or Maxey. Like that's him. And he's like walking toward us.
Fuck yeah.
He was walking toward us, and this guy's literally on the phone, and he goes, "Gotta go." Hangs the phone up and goes, "Ducks hat."
Yep.
And we're like, no fucking way.
Unreal.
So DJ was wearing a Ducks hat, and that got us a photo with him and a good interview that we'll release later on too. We got some good content from this thing that we'll doll out kind of as we go through the division recaps throughout the summer here. But yeah, God, what a fucking such a good guy.
It just you can tell he's one of the boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just a good dude. His girl, I'm not sure if that's his wife or what. I don't know if he's married, but she was pretty cool too. She was like, "Oh, dude, like, just give me the phone. I'll take the pictures." She was just like,
she like requested it. She's like, "You guys want me to take a picture with Bobby?" Like, yeah, I'll take a picture.
Fuck yeah, we do. Like,
fuck yeah, absolutely.
Cool?
Yeah. So Bobby Ryan was cool. I loved our interview with Coop. John Cooper
was the man.
Tampa Bay Lightning head coach. He had some time to sit beside and actually talk with us. Cuban cigar dangling out of his fucking mouth.
Fuck yeah, he had his kids. He has kids there. It's just that's that's the dad you want growing up, dude.
It's such a good time. Such a good time. Such a good day. Got lots of sun and had a blast.
Oh, I was fucking burnt, dude.
Oh yeah, and we sprayed on some. I think I started with like the suntan sunblock.
Oh, that's a mistake.
And then I got sprayed down by a friend of ours. Shout out to Matt Gray. He was out on the out there.
Boy, yeah, he's a beaut.
He was he's good friends with Tyler Johnson's friend. Speaking of, we didn't even get to talk about we got an interview with Tyler Johnson too.
Sure did.
We'll be throwing that out. He had some thoughts on skating next to the first overall draft pick this year.
Yeah, tune into that one. That's a good interview right there.
Probably throw that one out. What do you think when we get to the Atlantic?
Yeah, probably just when it's the Central
or the Central. That's right. I mean?
Yeah.
I always confuse the Red because I forget that the Red Wings because the Red Wings used to be in the West, now they're in the East. We'll probably throw that in the Central. Bobby Ryan will probably be the Pacific. We got and then Coop will probably be for the Atlantic division. So
Yeah.
pretty stoked about that. We'll have some great content for you. But today is the Chelios interview. And we'll get to that here after our little bit of recap and our stories here. But shout out to also, as you've got longtime listeners to the show know that we are sponsored by the Hub Tavern out in Spokane. Yes, sir, there it is.
That's right.
After the tournament, we made it our way out to the Hub Tavern out in Spokane. Shout out to Dave. Taylor, I'll let you take it away on this because this was your first time at the Hub.
Well, it's my first time at the Hub. There was a couple beers that I had before this place, so I definitely had a good little buzz going.
Yep.
Dave's just a beauty. I mean, you walk into this place, there's hockey shit everywhere. It's fucking amazing. You walk in and you just like, the eyes from behind the bar meet you at the door, and it's just they're, all the eyes are just, hey, welcome to the fucking Hub, dude.
Right.
And it's just you just instantly walk in and feel like you're at home, especially as a hockey fan. It doesn't hurt being celebrities like the Dusty Bender podcast, but
Sure, of course, yeah, absolutely.
and even what is it, Mona?
Yes.
Yeah, yep, Mona as well. Mona was a beauty. She was kind of bullshitting with her a little bit. But yeah, just hockey shit everywhere. We met Dave's kiddo. He's a kid. He's probably older than us. But yeah, just good people in general, and
his Spokane Chiefs avalanche tattoo on his abs.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. It was great because I was kind of in there, and at normal bars even I'll chirp people because I think it's funny,
Right.
But it can get me into trouble occasionally. But yeah, at this place it was just like, you chirp somebody for being, I think there was a guy behind us that was like a fucking Avs fan or something, right? And I was chirping him a little bit, and it's just the whole bar top was just, as soon as they realized that it was free game, they start chirping him too. So it's just like, yeah, it's a good little hockey community, and you kind of sold it to me as like, yeah, dude, you're gonna like walk down these back steps into this tiny little house, and it's not like that. It's like a fucking street corner bar, dude. Like
it is, but yeah, no, it's not sketchy by any means.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not at all.
No, yeah. I think we probably sat up in the like upper level with just Dave. It was you, me, Dave, and Maxie.
Yeah.
Sitting there, and we just bullshitted about everything. You guys were talking about junior hockey shit.
Oh fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. I mean, yeah, just chatting with him. He's so easy to talk to, super knowledgeable, right?
Yes.
He was like, I couldn't have told you in a million years I'd own essentially a hockey bar, and but he fucking loves it, man. He just has fallen in love with it, and he knows his shit. I mean, there's junior hockey that I just don't know about because I didn't grow up really in the area. Like I know the guys, I know some of the guys that came out of Spokane and shit like that, but and I know a little bit about the prospect stuff, but man, he's got so much fucking knowledge, and just a beauty, just a good guy, right? Like it's just hard to, those are the people that you latch onto, and that's why we did. So in
the world such as this, be like Dave.
Be like Dave.
Because 100%. It's the right thing to do.
Because he's a good dude, and he let us all walk out with some fucking Hub merch too. So.
Absolutely, yep. Yeah. He did good do guy. That. So shout out to him. We actually have a flag, Dave. If you're watching, we got a flag on your way. You can hang that up in the bar so people can throw shit at it.
Yeah, darts, eggs. What else do people throw?
Just drape that across the dartboard.
Yeah, fuck them. They're listening to it in the bar, and we say something stupid, and they throw shit at it.
Sounds about right. Well, they've got enough a diversity of fans in there to where someone is going to be upset with what we say.
Oh, 100%. There was a Maple Leafs fan that was not happy with some of your Twitter shit, and it was just the most basic fucking Twitter shit. It's like, you guys are fucking idiots. And it's just
all right. Well, there's no getting around that. Like, I mean, if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, we just hope that you have a good sense of humor and
but if you're any fan, just have a good sense of humor because
that's fair.
It doesn't actually fucking matter.
That's right. And unless you are a Leafs fan, then you are insufferable. But
yes, yeah, 100%. And if you're a Sharks or an LA Kings fan, then you can also fuck off. But
that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Vancouver as well.
And more recently, a Senators fan.
Ugh. Yuck, man.
I just think you guys got the next fucking Stanley Cup winning team.
I mean, I do like Shabbat, and I do like, I like what they did, but it's just, it's the same team. Like, but you can't expect a different season with essentially I mean, you can expect a little bit with some of the young guys, right? But, who knows? They're a bubble team at best. So
Sure. All right. So as we've teased on Twitter today, for the summer, we like to do our division recaps and previews and predictions and all that kind of stuff. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Metropolitan division. But before we do, folks, the long promised interview with the great Chris Chelios.
Chelly.
What'd you think about the day?
I hate golf. I had a great day, though. Are you recording?
So follow-up question. How'd you do?
Awesome.
Awesome.
And there you have it, folks.
There you go.
The long-awaited interview with Chris Chelios, everybody.
Oh, I love that he's like, "Are you recording?" He like literally. So, the other thing that's kind of funny, I don't know if we're allowed to say it, but so we were kind of waiting for a little while after the entire event, right? We were waiting for Gretzky to come out. We wanted to see if we could maybe get an interview with him, but definitely get him to sign some shit. And he was apparently had too many beers on the golf course to sign any autographs, so he wasn't signing. He signed some autographs at the Birdie Bar, but we were that's when we were talking with Chelly. So I think that group definitely had a very nice buzz coming off the 18s. So yeah.
The line that I know that Cooper said when we were interviewing him, did he say that in the interview or did he say that outside of the interview?
We're gonna have to find out.
Okay, all right. We won't ruin it now, because if he said it, I want to play it on the interview in the next episode. So we'll save that. But Coop had an absolute fucking gem. No, Chelios was in the process of getting hammered, so we weren't able to tie him down very long. But
Chelly was pretty funny. So I mean, he let us kind of just do a quick little interview. You got a quick one, and then he kind of let us like. We do have a picture of you and me and Chelly kind of in the same shot.
Yeah,
it's a little shitty, but he's literally just sitting there because Gretzky's signing all these autographs and shit on the 15th. And Coop's just kind of chilling there, and Chelly's just waiting for his fucking caddy to drive him around. So he's just sitting in the cart. Nobody's asking for his autograph and shit. And we're just like, fucking Chelly, what's up, bro?
This is Chris Chelios. What do you got? How is nobody hassling you right now?
Yeah, like Wayne Gretzky's cool and shit, but like, do you know this guy's also pretty good? If you guys were
absolutely.
So.
And one last shout out to Chris Chelios. He goes on to so those who are not familiar, the Coeur d'Alene Resort Golf Course. It's like claim to fame has a floating 18th hole.
Yeah, the Island Green.
Yeah, the Island Green, like out in the middle of the Coeur d'Alene. Like Chelly puts it in and then just tarps off, dives into the fucking water and swims back.
Fucking stud, dude.
Just absolute beauty.
Yeah. No, he was a good dude. You could tell he was feeling it though, because he was like, he could have been over there with Gretzky signing autographs and shit, but he was like, I need a second to just sit in this fucking cart.
Yep.
And collect myself, because he you could tell he was feeling the buzz a little bit.
Yep, that's right.
Oh, it's just a good dude, right? Like, I don't think we'll talk about it too much, but Roenick was a dick to me. So, it was at least...
No, we're going to peel this onion right fucking now, because we don't have an interview with Roenick. So before he even gets to you, let's insult the man for using up I'm not saying a lot of, there was a sunblock shortage in North Idaho because of this man.
100%. He literally, like, if they didn't have a, like, traditional dunk tank at this place, but if they did, it would have been Sunscreen, and Jeremy Roenick would have been the only one that fucking dunked in it.
That man was so white, and I'm not even meaning, like, his skin color. Like, This man made himself white because of, you know what? Here we go. Live look, folks. We're gonna pop on over.
You know what? And maybe he's had.
Look at this. Look at that.
You can see it on the arms, dude.
You can see. This is a bad photo. Like, I'm not even zooming in, and you can see the sunscreen.
Is he holding a tube of it too? It honestly looks like you got the perfect shot.
Think so. It can't be.
he's just holding some fucking SPF 100 that he used the entire tube. He's literally just chatting with someone real quick before he throws the tube that he just used the whole thing on.
No, he's actually asking him if they can get his back.
Yeah, hey, I know I'm wearing a shirt, but Chelly said he's gonna dive in on 8/16, so I gotta do the back so I don't get and maybe to his defense he's had like skin cancer scares and shit. I don't fucking know, but
Maybe.
it was like, dude, you could leave a little bit to the imagination. Maybe trust that the sun up north isn't that fucking bad.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know, dude. He was lathered in that shit.
He was. He really was.
Good golf game though. He's got a nice little swing.
Yeah,
Like Brandon,
we did post. I think it was maybe on the Facebook or maybe even on Twitter. We posted a nice swing from him. Oh yeah, here it is. Here we go.
There you go. Bring her
pop
up.
it. Let me pop it back up here. Pause. Go back.
That's just another good shot of the amount of sunscreen that he has on as well.
Jeremy Roenick saying Brendan Morrow is one of the best.
Yeah, you can see it on his fucking arms.
Oh my goodness! So this is
right.
where we started our day, though, right? So we started with this group.
That was his first shot of the day.
Bad, a little quick. So just a little bit of critique on his golf swing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a little quick in the backswing. I want to see him kind of pause at the top here. A lot of arms though. I want to see a little more hips. He does come around a little bit, so it's really not a bad stroke. So
Okay.
good for him.
All things considered, not too bad.
Yeah, I mean he's still a dickweed, but.
Okay, so after Jeremy Roenick made an okay tee off and then used all the sunscreen, tell us what he did after the event.
So, you and me are wearing our Dusty Bender shirts, and we got our media passes and everything.
Yep.
So I'm kind of coming out of the bathroom, and maybe it's on me. Like maybe I look like I just dropped all the kids off at the pool, right? And you don't want to talk to that guy. But I'm kind of passing Roenick in the pro shop, and we catch eyes. He kind of looks right at me, kind of gets the overview of me, and I go, hey Roner. I was like, how'd the day go? And he literally just like, if he was close enough to me, he would have definitely thrown a fucking shoulder into my shoulder and basically been like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So he just blatantly fucking like glazed over me, walked right by me. And then I think he kind of felt bad, and not because he bailed on me, but he felt like like this guy tried to talk to me, so he's like walking into the shitter, and maybe he had shit, right? So like it is what it is. But he literally is like walking into the bathroom, and some little kid goes, Jeremy Roenick, and he stops and fucking talks with this kid. And so it's just like it was like the double whammy, and so. I didn't have any of my boys with me, so I didn't have any backup, or else I would have tried to fight him. But
that's right.
It's just one of those things. I was like, "Fuck you, dude! Like, fuck you!"
Right. Okay.
So,
all right. So,
yeah.
So Chris Chelios has been promoted to one of the patron saints we have on the show, and Jeremy Roenick is now on the shit list.
No, I mean he probably had to take a dump, dude. Like, come on.
Okay.
I'll give him a little bit of credit. I know the rest of the night.
Okay.
I mean, I know I was bashing him at the fucking hub. I was bashing
him.
I was bashing him all night. I'm just offering up opportunity for him to come on the show and just explain himself. So
okay.
If he really had to take a dump,
most likely you've been probably drinking all day.
Or he had to throw up, dude. I don't know.
But
he literally doubled back for this little kid, and fuck, man, I don't know. Everyone else gave me the time of day, so
that's true. We did get some great stuff with that.
Even Tyson Nash wanted to shake my hand, and I was like, no,
I don't want to fucking talk to you.
Nah, bro.
God damn it, that's so good. All right, so great time that we had at the showcase. Great interviews. We're gonna dole those out over the course of the summer when we do our division previews. Excited to bring those to you guys. But for now, we'll get into the main event of the show, which is the Metropolitan Division preview.
Is it Metropolitan? That's not the kind. That's like the ice cream, right?
That is the ice cream.
Yeah.
So if you guys do not follow us on Twitter, here is the graphic that we put out to try to get everybody talking and maybe commenting a little bit. I'm not too upset about it. Coliseum Chronicles comes on. They gave us a nice little shout out. They said Flip Wells is 1 and 2. I agree with that board.
Oh, really?
That's high praise.
Yeah, that is high praise. Yeah, we'll get it. We'll deep dive into this right here. You know what I like about this? We always kind of talk about this every year.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have, if I just completely shit the bed with this list, right? We can go back at the end of the year and be like, fucking Wells was an idiot here. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like that. I like the, just keeping us in line. So yeah,
Absolutely. Got to hold us accountable.
Yeah,
because we take everything very seriously on this show.
Yeah, 100%. I literally received your text on what I consider a smoke break at work. I don't smoke or anything, but I'm just out there, jerking it a little bit.
Sure.
And got your text and said, fill this out. I said, all right, and filled it out in about 2 seconds. So, but I think it turned out all right.
I think so too. And it's amazing that we had roughly the same amount of picks. A little shuffling in the 3, 4, 5 area, but a bit of consensus here. So let's start from the bottom up. I want to talk about this a little bit. Let's if you wanted to on your screen, bring up the Flyers on Daily Faceoff.
Oh. No, it literally
it just goes to an error page.
Kills my Chrome. Yeah. you trust me, dude. You don't want to see this.
God. All right, I'll take that down. So folks, we've got as you saw, the Philadelphia Flyers in the number 8 spot. We've got them finishing at the bottom of the division. And if you know anything about hockey and you look at this lineup that they've got, I think you should agree with us.
The only way that this team doesn't end up at the very bottom of this division for me is if John Tortorella can work his every single player on this team is essentially a 3rd or 4th line player and works his fucking magic to where he somehow gets the most out of his very subpar team. But I just don't see it. So
literally their best player is, I think you said, a 2nd line player.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in their careers, Owen Tippett, at this point probably should be a 1st line player based on his age and shit. But him and Joel Farabee are probably more 2nd line tops. Travis Konechny, if he's not injured, can play like a number, 1st line guy. He would be more of a complement to, a good center and left wing. So I could put him on a 1st line, and I think that's probably where he fits in more. Sean Couturier is okay. But I mean, this team isn't terrible. There's some old names like Cam Atkinson, Couturier, my really good friend, Garnett, Nick Delorier and shit like that. Like they do have some names on here, but and names that can play a Tortorella system, right? I think like Sean Couturier is kind of built for that, and obviously this 4th line is clearly built for that. Mm-hmm. But still just not a lot of firepower, right? I mean, they just don't have anybody that jumps off the page at you. So
that was a very, very you said very nice.
Optimistic.
That was very optimistic. This
for
is
an 8 seed.
This is a dog shit team.
For an 8 seed team, I was being really nice there.
That was incredibly
It's a new
nice.
leaf, dude. Yeah,
that's incredible. Like I'm very surprised that you said so many nice things about this absolute dumpster fire of a team. That 1st line, Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, is young and exciting, but unproven and probably not going to get it done this year. Scott Laughton, Sean Couturier, and Travis Konechny are a acceptable 2nd line. Probably should be a 3rd line. Cam Atkinson should probably just retire at this point.
Poor guy, dude.
Poor guy. Like I have nothing but nice things to say about Cam Atkinson. When he was actually healthy and good, Cam Atkinson is a very good hockey player. But just kind of faded into obscurity with just being riddled with injuries. And this 4th line, I mean, it's a bad 4th line. Like, is it a 4th line? Sure. But this is a bad team. This is a bad team. Scroll down to the defense. It doesn't get much better.
It does not.
What do you mean? Mark Stahl is here.
I mean, there's
Mark
some...
Traffic Cone Stahl.
Is that his middle name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's French. Traffic Cone.
Chefacon. Cam York is interesting to me. I like Cam York. I think he's going to be a good player. I think by the end of the year, you see Cam York on the top pairing. But I agree with you. I mean, like, you know, I know who, like, we know who Nick Seeler and Sean Walker are, but to the everyday casual fan, those are random generated names.
Yeah, those aren't real people.
Those are fake people.
Yeah, and that means nothing. Sanheim and Ristolainen, I think, has been overrated for a while.
That's bad.
And he's not going to find new life in Philly. It's just, this is bad. And then it only gets worse as you go to the goalies. I do think it is too early to say that Carter Hart is a bust.
I agree.
I'm not willing to say that. It could be very much a John Gibson situation where he's just had the bad luck of being behind some really bad teams. So I'm not really willing to sign him off just yet, but it's not. This isn't a situation where Carter Hart's going to drag this team into the playoffs.
No, not. I think he's just got a little too much baggage at this point.
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting piece. I think if you see the Flyers have any sort of success this year, I think Ryan Ellis coming back kind of contributes to that. I think Ryan Ellis is still a good player. He didn't play like at all last year. So an interesting piece there. And then I do like the backup Cal Peterson is just getting another chance. But I agree. I mean, you look, especially in this division, especially in the East.
Yeah.
You know, you look in the East, this team is just it's not good.
Torts is not. Look, I can understand maybe a tough-nosed, hard-nosed coach coming into a good team and maybe, doing the Herb Brooks, like, if they hate me, they don't have time to hate each other kind of thing.
Sure.
I get that, but Torts' hard-nosed, disciplined ways on a bad team is just going to make this team feel even shittier. And I don't see this. I don't see this happening. This is a bad team. It's going to be a bad team. It will be a successful season if they aren't last in the division.
Yes, and I think the important part here is if you're planning on Torts being there for a good amount of time through the rebuild, right, into Mitchkoff being there, there's guys that have to have some pretty thick skin, right? Joel Farabee is going to be there. Owen Tippett is going to be there, right? Cam York is going to be there. Those guys have to put up with Tortorella and literally fucking thrive under his system. And it's so tough with Torts, man. You don't know how those guys are going to react. So I think this team, before Mitchkoff comes in, this team needs a new coach. I mean, Tortorella is just there to make a paycheck until he gets back on the fucking ESPN or whatever. So,
yep, pretty much.
Yeah. So that was both of our 8s. I believe we both matched
our bottom
up.
3 is the same. So
Okay,
let's jump over to the Washington Capitals. Now, I think this honestly might be a controversial take to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps because of historical bias, like we're not used to seeing the Washington Capitals rated so low.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I have them second to the bottom in the division.
Yeah.
Taylor, tell me why you think that.
I think it's age for me, dude.
You don't think Max Pacioretty's going to turn this team around? No,
Max Pacioretty's not going to do that. I mean, at some point, Ovechkin's going to fall off. It's not going to be this year. It's probably not even going to be next year. But for me, I don't know, man. I think when you get down to this area, this is where, in these deep pairings and stuff that really does fall off for me. You're really just banking on Kemper being a fucking lights out tendy with this amount of D. That just scares me a little bit. I mean, we got a lot of big names here, right? But you start getting into the ages of some of these guys.
Big
like
names 5 years ago.
Exactly. Nicholas Backstrom getting older. Max Pacioretty, does he even have any Achilles left?
None.
No,
None. They've fused the back of his heel to his calf muscle.
It's just metal.
Yeah, it doesn't move. It's just fixed.
Right. And Ovi's getting older. I think Kuznetsov has been overrated for a little while now, right?
It doesn't sound like Kuzi is too happy to be on the team anymore.
Right. So I mean, you're not going to get the most out of him if he doesn't even want to fucking be there.
Good
right?
thing they locked up Tom Wilson though, 7x7.
Woof, dude. You know what? That's
a core to build around if I ever seen one.
This contract is too rich for me, right? I don't want 7 years out of Tom Wilson. I think he's still a valuable player on this team, more towards the 3 to 5 years though.
Correct.
Right? I think if this contract was, I don't even know if I'd give him 7. I think I'd be closer to 6 or 5, 5.5, 6. But
this screams, and I know that this is Red Wings bias, but this screams Justin Abelkader.
Abelkader, I know. I saw that one a lot on Twitter, dude.
This is vintage Justin Abelkader signing. Like, you're gonna get 3 years into this contract, and you're gonna really regret it. Like, he is going to be an absolute anchor on this team.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a Ryan Reeves fourth line guy.
He could easily do that. He really could.
Yep.
But I think where they do have a little bit of optimism, this is a pretty nice little third line, right? So if you're a Caps fan, like you Sonny Milano, is infamous for the him and Trevor Zegras connecting on the fucking I forget what they call it now, Dylan Strome, the 3rd overall pick, right? Yep. And him being right here, this is where he needs to be, right? Yep. Dylan Strome in a third line center role is perfect. And then Anthony Mantha, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. You could have a really nice season out of that third line for sure. So there's potential, but
as a Red Wings fan, Mantha has the raw talent. It's more of just like he is kind of like his personality is just not really great.
Yeah.
And then that fourth line, I mean I know Nick Dowd.
I don't know how to say it really, but Abu Kubel or whatever his fucking name is. I recognize it. I think he was Flyers for a little bit, but nothing to call home about.
Yeah. So I mean, star power alone, like Ovi's still going to score probably between 30 and 40 goals this year. Max Pacioretty, if he can stay healthy, is probably good for 25-30. Kuzi will probably put out his same output. Tom Wilson you can count on for at least 20. She's really fallen off here. The injuries are stacking up. I mean, these guys can be counted on to do what they've done in the past, just a little bit less. But that's the problem, is that, since they won the Cup against Vegas in that first year, they've been on a slow downward trend. And instead of rebuilding, but this is by design, right? Like, there are some guys that try to milk like the Penguins that we'll talk about in a little bit. But this team, they don't care about winning the Cup anymore. They want Alexander Ovechkin to beat Gretzky's record. So that's what this team is designed to do. And you know what? If that's your overall goal, great. You've got Tom Wilson to keep Ovi off his back, and he'll still be out on the power play. And I mean, I don't know. This roster, there's no change here really from last year, other than Max Pacioretty,
Patches and Milano, I think. Right?
Yeah, Strome, but these are filler guys that don't really move the needle too much.
Stromer was there last year, I think, right?
Wasn't he with Detroit?
No, I think Stromer was.
Who am I thinking of?
Detroit.
Kubalik. I was thinking Kubalik.
Oh, Kubalik, yeah.
Because Kubalik and Strome, I think, were with Chicago.
Yeah.
So in any case, I just don't. There's not too much to move the needle here. Like, it's basically the same team as last year with a couple additions to round out it. And these are not needle movers enough to get them into the playoffs or really even make them competitors. This defense is frightening.
I love Rasmus Sandin, though. I think this was a great deadline move by whoever the Capitals GM is. This kid's going to be sick. So, I mean, their top four is okay. I mean, you basically have Jensen and Farivari for, just to be the defensive guys for Carlson and Sandin. So
they're fine.
I don't hate it, but who knows what's going to happen. So
it's solid. This isn't a bad team. I don't have necessarily a lot of faith in Darcy Kemper as maybe you do.
Yeah.
Because he's been, I would argue, inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, I still have them at 7 on my list, so I'm not super comfortable with them.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, like this team was an outside looking in team by a pretty hefty margin last year,
Yeah.
and they didn't really do anything. Do they are they going to like basically what I'm trying to say is all the additions that they made offset the little bit of amount that their best stars are going to get worse due to age. And that's it. So I don't see them doing too much else different from last year. I think that they're an outside team looking in.
I think they did have a few injuries, but I think and maybe maybe we look at it at the end of the season and they're 6th in the division instead of 7th, but I still would put them outside of a playoff spot, right? So
agreed. And I necessarily don't even see them as a bubble team, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean they could surprise, but I think just based on this top 9, they could surprise if these 9 get hot. But
if all of them play the game that they've been playing 4 or 5 years ago, absolutely.
Sure.
Like these are big names, but that's like expecting Sidney Crosby to play like how he was when they won the cup last time.
Right.
Like it's just the name is there. No disparagement against Alex Ovechkin. He's an amazing player and has been, but it's just
natural progression, dude. Yep. Natural progression. Absolutely. All right, let's run to number 6 real quick.
All right, so back to the list real quick. We've got the Columbus Blue Jackets. This might be a surprise to some. I mean, in comparison to what it was previously, the Blue Jackets were famous for like actively being terrible last year.
Sure.
They've made enough moves this year, with the addition of Adam Fantilli, the third overall pick this year. And boy, I think there's hope in Columbus. You bring Mike Babcock in, and Babcock, I'm not holding this guy into higher. I grew up a Red Wings fan. You guys, the longtime listeners of the show and viewers of the show have seen, me growing up with Babcock as the head coach at the Spokane Chiefs. I've met the guy. I should be a big fan, and I do respect him to some degree. But coming back out of his, shall we say, exile, I guess you could say, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the kick in the pants that the Columbus Blue Jackets need, especially since this is such a young team. Does an older style coach, even one who says he's, an off quote, but essentially rehabilitated into learning the new style and dealing with younger players, is he going to be the right fit for this very young team? And I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I think even in a good scenario, I don't know if they're necessarily bubble, but can Mike Babcock work with this young team, this very, very young team? I think that's the big question coming into the season, because that first line of Johnny Gaudreau, Boone Jenner, and Patrick Laine, I don't think anybody's doubting that. That's a solid NHL first line.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people underrate Boone Jenner. I have watched this guy play. He is a solid hockey player and can be relied upon to be a first to second line center. Johnny Hockey and Patrick Laine have the raw skill to do it and get it done. Now we move on to all the other wild cards and opens on this team. Honestly, it seems like I'm kicking it back over to you, but Taylor, you're really big on these young guys.
I do like the young players on this team, and I think there's a little bit of bias, right? So putting Columbus above a team like the Capitals, who's just full of older guys. I think you're basically just like every team in the league, right? You're just every fan base excited about the young guys that are coming through.
Yes,
but over the old guard that's been there for a long time, right?
Sure.
So, but I agree with you. I think if you looked at their top line here, Boone Jenner is just a poor man's Bergeron, right?
Yeah.
So you just stick Marchand and Buckwheat on the other side. I can't think of his fucking name right now.
Patrick Laine.
Yeah. So this top line neckbeard Laine, yeah.
Yep.
So then you kind of get into this area.
This is in theory it's already going to be a pretty good line this year. Give this line 3 years. Oof.
Yeah. That second line or the first line?
Second line.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, honestly, it'll bounce around. Obviously, like we might even see Adam Fantilli centering Gaudreau and Patrick Laine this year. But
Sure.
like if Johnson, Fantilli, and Marchenko are allowed to develop some chemistry with each other, ooh, this is anybody like Devin, our friend of the show, Devin Lewis, loves prospects. Like sometimes it even clouds his judgment in fantasy because he'll pick these really young guys that are promising in the future, but not right now.
Right.
This is a line that just makes any prospect watcher just happy.
Oh, I think the only thing that scares me about this line is this is what you would expect on a team that you could see potentially going to the playoffs. That's a line that you would probably want to see on your third line.
Right. So that's like the Kakko Lafreniere line for Rangers.
Yes. I think this line to me is better just because I like the players better. I've always been high on Kent Johnson. Adam Fantilli should have been in Anaheim. And then Marchenko has been good. I mean, he's just kind of waiting for that opportunity to break out. He has always been a good prospect. It's just a matter of time. I think he had a decent year last year, but if this line can click, that's what you want to see if you're a Blue Jackets fan. This is the future of this team. Even with Laine, Gaudreau is a little older, but even with Patrick Laine, I mean, this is kind of what you want to see, right?
Sure.
You go a little bit further down. Bemstrom's been there for a little bit. There's just
I'm high on Jack Roslovic. I've watched his game. He's very good. He's a solid hockey player.
Yeah. And with Cole Sillinger, they can make a little magic together. I don't hate those two together. And then Bemstrom just brings a little bit of that grit, right? He brings a little bit of gets into the corners and shit. Fourth line is pretty meh, but
pretty fourth line.
I think we've talked about this before. I think where they really did upgrade, you get into even their bottom pairing. I still think, like we've talked about before, this is probably where they had their guy down in the AHL. Either way, I don't think this is going to be their sixth defenseman. By the beginning of the year, I think that this six is actually going to be a little better. But I mean, you got Werenski, Severson, and Provorov, obviously, and then I mean, having Goodbranson and Boqvist on your bottom pairing, it's not terrible. I mean, you're just giving a goalie like Merzlikins a little bit more support, which is what they wanted to do, and it just gives them an opportunity. I still don't think this is a playoff team. No, but I think they're in the right direction, right? I mean, you can look at the guys that they have, especially up front, right? This six right here is so young. They're gonna build off of this year, and you could potentially see them in the playoffs. I think next year, probably. So
I'm going to give a prediction that Merzlikins has a bounce back year.
I mean, with the AHL defense that he had in front of him last year, I think that's a pretty safe prediction.
Sure. Like he was hung out to dry a lot last year, so right. There is that side of the things. I think honestly, like I don't know, maybe we're reading too far into how much influence a coach has, but I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see when Babcock talks about how like he's reflected and he's done some stuff and he's worked with how to work with younger guys. I'm very curious if that's just talk or if he's actually studied up on the newer style of the game and maybe some psychology on how to deal with this next generation of athletes and that kind of thing. Because nowadays, I mean, it's maybe an older generation respected or understood hard discipline and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, players, especially nowadays, they have enough power to say "fuck you, coach."
Sure.
And if the coach goes, "I'm going to bench you," and he'd be like, "Good fucking luck with that."
Yeah.
Have you seen my contract?
Yeah, you're going to answer to people a lot higher than me if you do that, bro.
Exactly. So, like, players now have a lot more say in everything. So, maybe Babcock has to develop. We'll see. I'm curious to see if he actually comes in. I do think that the move to get Babcock was very much it was Jarmo Kekalainen saying, "Look, we want to be taken seriously this year. Mm-hmm. We are not. We don't have some crazy. We don't have some guy that has crazy lightning bolts shaved into his bald head. I don't think they were lightning bolts, but you catch my drift."
That'd be pretty sick.
It was pretty sick. So yeah, I've got you and I both have the Blue Jackets finishing out third from the bottom. An improvement on last year, but still outside of the playoffs.
Yep.
All right.
100%.
This is where you and I start to differ.
Yep.
So let's start with the Pens on your list, because the Pens have the most recent news.
Yes.
So
yeah, they got last year's Norris guy, which we discussed a little bit on the last podcast. It's a good pickup for them. I mean, you know me. I like Kyle Dubas. I like what he's done. I liked what he did in Toronto.
we didn't talk about Carlson yet.
Huh?
We didn't talk about Carlson yet.
Okay. I that's not what I was going with something else, but I just completely spaced it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Anyways, so picking up Erik Karlsson, honestly, it was kind of a steal. I don't think Dubas really gave up that much, but I think
let's start with that trade. What do you think about this trade in a vacuum? Like let's not look at the larger context or anything. Let's look at this trade in the vacuum that it is. How do you feel about it?
I mean, Dubas got his man, and I don't think he gave up that much. I think he basically dumped cap and gave up a first and a second total.
I'm pulling up the deal right now.
Yeah, so I think in general, right? I mean, we've talked about it previously, where we basically said, like, the Penguins just got to go for it, right? They're or technically, I think we both said that they probably just need to tear it down, but Dubas got in there with Crosby and Malkin and basically said, what do you guys want to do? And they probably told him, hey, let's just see what we can do. Let's go for it. Yeah, if you can zoom in on that a little bit, we can get it. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Penguins getting Erik Karlsson. I do think a very underrated piece in the trade that comes back to the Penguins is Rem Pitlick, that just adds a little bit of a third, fourth line guy to a team that, is probably looking a little top heavy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I kind of like that. That's just super underrated piece of the whole setup. But I also think San Jose's hands were a little tied. I think Greer's hands were a little tied. There's no way that he was going to be able to keep Karlsson. Karlsson was just going to sit on the bench, right?
No.
Karlsson's one of those guys. He's not even going to play. He's not going to play in the fucking game. He just comes across like that to me a little bit. So I think his hands were a little bit tied, and so a lot of people were like, Greer fucking sucks. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's this was probably one of the better deals that was on the table, and he got a first round pick back for it. So
Greer's taken some shit, saying that, like, he's delved out two of his biggest pieces on his team for a first, a second, and peanuts. I think at the end of the day, though, the problem is that everybody knows that he was up against a wall. Unless he wanted to sit on these contracts and just be mediocre for years, there was nothing he could do. And if you're saying, like, how much did San Jose retain on Karlsson? Like 1.5?
Yeah, not much.
Like peanuts compared to what the actual monster Goliath megalith contract that is. So it sounds like Greer got what he wanted, which was take most of the money off the books. The Penguins get what they wanted in the sense that Dubas is doing everything he can to try to make sure that Crosby and Malkin get one, and Letang, not to leave him out, get one more kick at the can. Am I wrong?
No, that's definitely what it is, man. It's just making sure that those guys are happy when Dubas comes in.
Like, this is, we are honestly looking at a Penguins full rebuild in what, 2-3 years?
Yeah, I'd say 3 at the latest.
Okay. 4 is pushing it. Like, there's in 4 years, Crosby, Malkin, Karlsson, or Letang are not on this team.
Yeah.
Any and or all kind of thing. Like they're getting up there. Maybe Carlson is there to usher in a new generation, that kind of thing, or get traded one more time. But Dubas is there. I love the shade that he threw. Did you throw? He said that the deal for Carlson had been in the works since his previous employment.
I like that he just basically, was like, you all know where I was, but I'm gonna try to be business appropriate,
Right. His
and
previous employment. So basically saying like, hey, I was working on this for Toronto, and now that I'm with Pittsburgh, they just continued working with me, and that's why I got them.
right. And Toronto fans just slowly turned over in their double wides.
I've seen mixed reactions from Maple Leafs fans on this. Some are upset with Dubas because he's talking shit about the Maple Leafs, and if you say anything critical about the Maple Leafs, unless you're a Maple Leafs fan, you're public enemy number one.
Like us.
Yeah, exactly. Even though they say the same shit about their own team.
Sure.
Not enough grit. But anyway, we'll get into grit. God, I can't wait to talk about Toronto in the next one. But this one is a situation where you're just like, fuck, man. He was the belle of the ball at this point. Everyone knew that he wanted out of San Jose. Everybody knew that people wanted him out of San Jose. I'm personally happy that he's not going to Seattle. I thought that would have been a terrible fit, and Seattle would have had to given up a decent amount to do it. So I'm happy about this. I do think this is a bit convoluted, and of all the teams in this whole thing, I would say that Montreal's probably the winner.
Getting Petrie into Smith?
But they didn't do anything.
Sure. They're just like, I think they're just probably money, huh?
Yeah, they were just money. And I honestly, like, getting a second round pick, Petrie comes back to help your very struggling core D. Like, you got assets for basically being an intermediary. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think Montreal did a decent job. Okay. In the terms of the trade, in a vacuum, I think Dubas just absolutely fleeced this. This is a fantastic trade on his behalf.
Yeah, I mean, being able to shed enough contract and money and shit to bring in the Norris Trophy winner. You can literally, like, we could sit here and we
shedding
debated
Petrie and Granlund in one fell swoop. Whew.
Yes, yeah, dude. It's just quick work, man. It's just super tidy. Dubas is a good GM. There's deeper problems to why Toronto wasn't winning while he was GM there.
It wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault. I mean, he's doing what you want to see from a GM. He's literally improving his team.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's a good move for them. Does it get them over the hump? Maybe. Maybe we'll see if they kind of catch fire. It just brings them a little bit of extra fun, but.
Let's go out of the vacuum now. Let's go outside of the trade. Let's take the bigger context. I don't think that this Erik Karlsson trade is going to... It doesn't make them a contender.
This is a poor man's Edmonton to me.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Just super top heavy. I mean, Riley Smith, like, even if you were super top heavy, you wouldn't want Riley Smith in your fucking second left wing. And this is just gross down here, dude. I'm sorry.
Let's look at that for a second. Like, let's say, like, okay, Riley Smith was a third line, borderline fourth line guy on the Vegas Golden Knights that just won the cup, and now he's slated in to sit next to Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust.
Yeah.
I just don't like the depth on this. It shades of the Capitals here, where the big names are still the big names and they're still skillful, but they're getting older and they don't mean as much anymore. Which means that depth needs to take up the slack, and I do not like the depth on this team.
It's just concerning. I mean, yes, you have Eller and Carter, but Eller and Carter 5 years ago, right? I mean, like those are different players than they are now.
Yep.
I think Brian Rust is going to have a bounce back. I think that's a guy to keep an eye on. I think he will have a bounce back, which will help. I'm being rude. I'm being mean to Riley Smith, but Riley Smith is a good defensive forward to me, right?
So Riley Smith is a solid hockey player.
Yes, I'm not going to deny that, but
I say that in every sense of the word. Like You can't like if Riley Smith scores 20 goals next year, that's a good season for him.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that, but if you're a Penguins fan, you need him scoring 25, 30.
Yeah.
And he's not going to do that.
Right. Yeah, just, I mean, I don't hate this forward group. Noel
What about Raquel?
I mean, he's super inconsistent. So he'll go off with Crosby for a little bit and then he'll be shitty.
Gotcha.
So don't mind this top line. I think this is still a good top line, right? Crosby has the jam, dude.
Matthew Nieto is still playing hockey.
Love this, dude. I actually played hockey against him growing up. That's what's funny. I could, you know what? I could be filling the fourth line of the fucking Pittsburgh Penguins at this point. He was scoring like 3-4 goals a game. I was scoring like 1 every 3-4 games. But,
sure.
You know, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, so this is kind of the big area, right? This is where Pettersson is actually an old duck. He's pretty underrated, actually. So their top 4 isn't bad. I really don't think their top 4 is that bad.
So I'm going to take opposite takes here on this. Marcus Pettersson to me is underrated. I think Ryan Graves, they're really overrating him.
Sure. I can see that.
I don't think Graves is that good as what they say. I think he's a fine hockey player, solid defensive, but I think people are kind of overrating him a little bit, like a lot of wishful thinking. Whereas Pettersson, I think that he's got another step that he could take. I think that he might be good. I think that especially on Daily Faceoff, I think that combo is good. The problem here is 100%. This is a Burns and Carlson situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't need another Chris Letang.
Sure.
And you got another Chris Letang. Does adding Erik Karlsson to this team make it better? Yes. Is it what it needed to get that last push into the playoff? No.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think instead of Erik Karlsson here, putting a defensive defenseman with a guy like Marcus Pettersson, who has a little bit of offense, right? That at least just you can stick this line out against the top.
God, can you imagine? Are you ready for Karlsson and Letang on the same power play line?
They won't. They'll do 1 and 2.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think they'll put them out at the same time. I mean, you know, you go to their forward group. These guys got to get time.
Scroll down. What does Daily Faceoff have their first pair?
Carl. Okay, so this is their freaking first pair, dude. Pettersson and Karlsson are the first pair. Letang, like him a lot, and you know, I'm a little higher on Graves than you are. This is their second pairing. There's no excuse that this isn't their first pairing. I mean, maybe if you're putting these guys out against the first, you know, McDavid's and
Graves,
and shit, but
Graves is fine, and that's and that's what I mean by it. He's fine. Whereas I think that a lot of people are trying to make him into something that he's not.
I think this is funny. Like, you don't need POJ on your fucking second.
I don't know who that is.
I think he was with the Coyotes for a little bit, I believe. Yeah, he's literally this is not his spot, dude.
POJ and OEL hang out in the offseason.
Yeah, they're like buddies.
Yeah.
Just because
like,
they have. You know,
do you have a super long name so people only refer to you by the 3 first letters? Yeah, dude, we should hang out.
Dude, yes.
Dude, we'll go to Starbucks and we'll just be like, "Who's a drink for?" And you'll be like, "OEL."
Yeah, I could see this. I could see this easily being Nieto.
So let's go to the most concerning part. Keep scrolling down. Oh. Yikes.
Watch Nedeljkovic be fucking sick next year.
That's
dude.
not going to happen. That is not going to happen. He couldn't do it in Carolina. He had his opportunities in Detroit. Granted, he got shelled in Detroit, but he still couldn't do it. Boy, I like Tristan Jarry. When he's on his game, he's a good goalie.
Sure.
But when he's off, he's off.
Yeah, and I think he's been a little injured recently. So,
but that's like, look at his, you know, his name, not his namesake, but the guy that came before him, Matt Murray. Like, would you and I sit here? So Matt Murray signed with who'd he sign with recently?
I don't have my
Matt Murray. God damn it. On. Matt Murray just signed with somebody. I think.
That just tells you how important.
No,
his
he's
signing
he's
was.
not. But
Probably.
oh
Fucking
no
San
no no no
Jose.
no that's the big deal. We can talk about it in the next episode. But he got put on LTIR for the season, and the season hasn't started yet. So I mean, if we were talking about a fully healthy Matt Murray, would we be having the criticisms that we have of him? Would you? Oh, really?
I don't know. I think he's a bit of a head case, man. But
agreed. But you can work through that stuff if you have raw talent. Like,
sure.
I think if so look, my best example of that is Robin Leonard. Like, is Robin Leonard a head case? No doubt. But if you take his physical injuries off of the table, where he had to fucking get double hip surgery plus shoulder surgery, he's a good goalie.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't disparage that in any way. So the same with Murray. Like, I understand he's a head case. Like, he's got to worry about that chain of hot topics he has in Toronto. Like, it's a big deal. Like, it's a lot of pressure.
Capitalist, dude. He's
right, exactly. So he's got pressure to deal with, but like he's got 2 Stanley Cups.
Right.
Like, that's not nothing. Like, that's not a fluke.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the weakness of this team, right? So,
agreed.
You know, they're a little top heavy, right? You know, in the center or the forward group,
heavy.
They're pretty top heavy.
Yeah.
And then I think their top 4 is, I mean, Erik Karlsson clearly makes their top 4 defensemen much better, right? So I mean, you know, Pettersson's going to have to play a lot of fucking actual defense if this is the pairing, but you know, it's just a trade-off that you have to have on some teams, right? I think that the goaltending is going to be their sketchy point, and that's why I have them a little lower in my list. So,
right. So going back to the list, you've got them a little bit lower, and which is understandable. Like you and I interchanged 3 different teams, but at the same day, like, do we expect any of them to really make the playoffs? You know, that third spot will, but you know, it's a crapshoot, and we'll see. So jump on over to the Islanders now. I've got them at number 5 at the lowest spot there at that number 5 spot. Boy, I'm just not impressed with this lineup. I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
They did what? Nothing to improve?
Not really, dude. I mean, yeah, not too much I mean, you're basically just, you got guys that are getting older and you got guys that are getting, you know.
So this was an outside looking in team last year, and they did literally nothing to improve. Like, Kyle Palmieri is your second line right winger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I think you can stick Pierre Engvall up in that second line, but if you're trying to spread it out a little bit, I think that's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes not doing anything works, right? So you're gonna have a full season. You're gonna have a full off season with Horvat. Matt Barzal was hurt for a good chunk of last season. I think you know, Anders Lee. You know, he can still put the puck in the back of the net. And Brock Nelson's never going to have the year that he did last year. But, I mean, you're going to see a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom get a fucking chance, right? And Oliver Wahlstrom is a good player. So
I could argue that this offense has been roughly the same for the last 2-3 years and hasn't done anything. But the points that you made, you're taking a more optimistic approach to it. I'm taking more pessimistic. But why don't you scroll down to the defense?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no confidence in this defense. This is a defensive defense, but not in a good way. Like, all these guys are there to play solid defense in their own zone. This defense was designed under Trotz.
Yes.
But under a new coach, under a new system that actually might, I don't know, want to score goals, this defense might not adapt to that well. And all these guys are solid defensive defensemen. You know, even Pollock, I understand that he's got an offensive side to his game, so is Dobson, but I just don't like this defense. I don't see them stepping up into the play, and I see them just getting over fucking whelmed. This team's saving grace is going to be is the goalie.
So I mean, this is the same D that they had last year, and they
Missed
got
the playoffs.
They missed the playoffs. I don't disagree with you. I think they had a lot of injuries last year. I think that was definitely one of the defining things. And to be completely honest with you, when they got rid of Trotz, I didn't believe in this team. So this isn't me just being a fucking Islanders homer. I've never been an Islanders homer.
I fully believe in the idea that this team, if Barry Trotz was still the coach of this team, I think this team would somehow scrape its way into the playoffs. But
sure.
Using these players in the way that is not in Barry Trotz's system, because Barry Trotz plays a very defensive system, very boring hockey. If you try to introduce any sort of rush game or transition or anything that's remotely offensive, I just don't know if this team can handle it.
So my argument to why this team is going to be better this year, is the exact same argument as to why the Rangers are going to be worse.
Oh, okay.
So the reason is you bring in a brand new coach. You bring in so Lane Lambert is different than Peter Laviolette. Laviolette's been around the league. I think Rangers are still going to be okay. They're not going to be, especially in a division where Carolina and New Jersey are going to be clearly better, right? I think, the Rangers are going to have a little bit of a fall off. I think Gerard Gallant is a better coach than Peter Laviolette. I think another year in Lane Lambert's system with a very similar team to they had last year. I think that first year, guys are just trying to kind of figure out the systems and get used to that shit. I also think the Islanders definitely dealt with some injuries, whereas, every team deals with injuries, but I think the Islanders, they don't have a lot of firepower from an offensive standpoint to begin with, but losing Matt Barzal for fucking any amount of time just killed them last year. So I think that's why I'm a little higher on them. I think they've had a full year in Lambert's system. They've had an off season in Lambert's system. I think Noah Dobson is, clearly Noah Dobson is better than Ryan Pollock and Pelech. I think Dobson is clearly the first defensive pairing. I would agree with you. I think this D is boring. I think this is very Carolina defense 3 years ago.
Oh God, I think Carolina. I can't wait to get to their. I want to talk so much about their defensive core.
Yeah,
I want to talk about I want to talk about Carolina's defensive core so hard.
And when I look up front, technically this third line, Fashing, I could argue that you just stick Clutterbuck up here. I still think this is.
We're splitting hairs at this point.
Between these two, sure.
Yeah.
But I do, I'm not a huge fan of Pajot, but for a third line center, that's a pretty good third line center.
JG Pajot has lost all confidence in. I've lost all confidence in him a long time ago.
Well, he's a third line center. They brought him in as a first or second potential, this guy in 2 years is going to be a first line center. He's not, and we talked about this when the trade happened. He's just a third line center. That's who he is. Okay. So I think with all of that, with all those different points, this is 100%. One of the best goalies in the league, dude.
I'm gonna give you because you've got on your ranking list, you've got the Islanders in the third spot, which is pretty fucking high.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you have them so high. I don't know. I was assuming when I saw that you're like, okay, Sorokin's going to bail them out of a lot of shit and drag them into this third spot. 100%. I'm just not as positive about it. I think that the problems up front,
league, dude.
I'm not. It's not a knock against Sorokin. It's not. I recognize that Sorokin is one of the best goalies in the league. 100%. It is not against him. It is literally against everybody in front of him. That Lamoriello did nothing to improve this team up front, and he is literally banking on the fact of what you just banked it on. They had injuries last year, and we're hoping that now that we have a fully healthy roster, just like Vegas, they're taking the Vegas approach. They're like, we were really unhealthy last year. Once we get that full team back, we're gonna do well. I'm betting against that. I'm just saying that, like, look, I look at these guys. It's a solid team. I think under a solid structure, it would do well. But you lost that when you got rid of Trotz. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Sure.
We're definitely, they're not winning the cup. We'll put it that way.
No, God. I mean, I'm not saying they're winning the cup. I'm just saying this team is, if they can stay semi-healthy, based on the amount of injuries that they had last year and then finishing where they did, they have a very good chance of exceeding expectations for sure. So,
sure.
It'll be interesting. I mean, Sorokin to me, this is a huge take. Sorokin to me, if he was on a team like, say, the Tampa Bay Lightning, say the fucking New York Rangers, he is the best goalie in the league. So that's
third
that's
best.
how high I am.
I would argue that Ottinger's up there, but
yes, but Ottinger. So that's the thing, is it's so hard to compare these guys, right? Ottinger has been on good teams since he got into the league.
Fair,
right? And I think, even with Trotz, like the actual faculty that are on these that have been on these Islanders teams aren't anywhere close to those three teams that I just named, right? So, really, it's always going to be a good debate of who the best goalie is in the league. But me personally, I think Sorokin is. You stick him on some of these actual fucking contenders, that's a stud, dude. He's so fucking good.
That's fair. All right. So, okay. And I'm not disparaging Sorokin. I do think he's a good goalie too. Yeah. I think the odds are stacked against him with the team in front of him.
I did have so even in my 2 minutes,
they're aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, 100%. With even in my 2 minutes of throwing this list together, I did debate between 3 and 4.
Okay.
So it's
Let's jump to our 3 and 4s then.
Okay.
The New York Rangers.
Sure.
This team, you could argue, got better addition by subtraction. I genuinely think that the Kane and Tarasenko ads were like rental, like this might put us over the top kind of ads. So I honestly don't think that they didn't matter too much to the internal chemistry of this team.
Yeah.
When you look at it, Chris Kreider, he had a down year compared to the massive year that he had the year previous. I would know because I fucking picked him up my fantasy team. It fucking sucked. So, but Kreider is still, like, even if he like balances out of the two, like if he hits the middle of the bad season he had and the good season he had, if he's in the middle, that's still a very solid player. Mika Zibanejad is a fucking stud.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anybody can do that. Kaapo Kakko is we can even address that right now. Kaapo Kakko, Alex Lafreniere, like, are they going to be what the Rangers were hoping they were going to be? I don't know. They are still pretty young.
Yeah, too soon to know.
They are still pretty young, but at the moment, I don't know. Kaapo seems to have a little bit more leeway with the team than Lafreniere. I think a lot more eyeballs and pressure on Lafreniere than they are on Kaapo, which is weird because, like, right now, this is the off season. Trade rumors are the way of life. Like, that's how hockey writers keep their traffic going. You see a lot of stuff on Alex Lafreniere. You see little to none for Kaapo Kakko.
Mm-hmm.
And you could argue that Kakko is the worst of the two. So the fact that he's still there, I don't know. I think that the Rangers are still going to play it patiently. This is a good, like, if you look at that second line, Panarin, Trocheck, and Wheeler, that's a good second line. There's nothing wrong with that. Wheeler in his, later years, not playing as well as he has, it's still a good hockey team. He fills up that second role well. Lafreniere, Chytil, how do I say that? Chytil? Philip.
Someone said Hedl.
Hedl, that's right. Philip Hedl and Jimmy Vesey, that's a great third line. And even if they try to replicate the young person, what do they call it, the triplets line or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they bring that together, that's great. And this fourth line is a solid fourth line. I don't hate this. This is a good, solid team. I don't know if it has the star power enough to actually make a run at the cup, but this is a good offensive line. Now, but anytime that you and I have talked about the Rangers in the past, the problem's not been the problem's not been with the offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's been with this blue line.
Sure.
Because up until this point, it's basically been Adam Fox. And I know that Rangers fans will probably argue, Jacob Trouba.
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you and I think about Jacob Trouba?
Oh, he's a slime ball. But, yeah, he's coming on the pod next week, so can't wait to
You think so?
Yeah. This D, so you and I have always kind of had a little bit of a crush on Gustafsson, so it's interesting to see him on this defensive six. So, and Braden Schneider is a good two-way D. I think they drafted him in like 2019, 2020. So it's not a bad. He's just a younger guy on that third pairing. Ryan Lindgren's okay. He does what he's supposed to do, So this really isn't a bad defensive pairing. I mean, I can convince myself of all six guys, right? And that's why I was struggling a little bit. I probably should have put Rangers at 3 on my list, but I think. I do think that this D is a little bit questioned, right? I mean, there's a little bit more question marks on this D than there is with a lot of this. I think there's a little bit of shake up that you can do on the lines. But I think the D pairings it's just a question mark, right? Like what kind of year are these guys going to have, right? Is Keandre Miller going to have the years that he's been having, or there's got to be a point where he kind of falls off, right?
Yes.
So. Yeah, I think the D pairings are definitely the question mark, and if your question marks are Braden Schneider and Ryan Lindgren, I don't think you're doing that bad. So
no, it's a solid team.
Yeah, it's really not a bad game.
Now so combining the perfectly acceptable offense, the passable defense, combined with arguably one of the top 3 best goalies in the world,
100%.
I think we're going to do just fine. I'm
very Quick. You mean right?
Very worried about Jonathan Quick. If I'm a Rangers fan, I really hope that Shesterkin plays all 82 games.
Yeah.
But Igor Shesterkin is arguably, if not the best goalie in the world.
Yep.
Definitely top 3. The team in front of him is definitely good enough for him to backstop a good team, and so. I'm excited to see the Rangers. They're one of the original 6 teams that I don't hate. Aside from I love the Red Wings, but if you like one of them, you can't like the other 5. But I don't mind the Rangers, so I'm excited to see this team roll the dice again with what they've got. Wheeler, I think there is genuinely an argument to be made that Wheeler is an upgrade over Patrick Kane. We'll see. Like after didn't Patrick Kane get like double hip surgery or some shit?
I don't know, but I think what you're looking for in Blake Wheeler is he is more of a passer.
You've got it
right. So I think,
and he's got 2 people to pass to.
I don't know what that said, but what I'm saying is I think either Blake Wheeler moves up into this spot so he can pass to Kreider, who's a fucking shooter, whereas because Panarin's a fucking passer and Vincent Trocheck is. He's
a two-way guy.
So I mean, you want an extra shooter on that line instead of Wheeler. So I could see Wheeler bumping up or down. But yeah,
that means if I was going to move these lines around a bit, I would take your advice. I would say Blake Wheeler goes up to the front, but then I would put Lafreniere on that second line.
Same. Yeah.
Try to reinvigorate that raw scoring talent that we saw in the queue.
Can I tell you what my lines would be for the Rangers, actually?
Hit me with it.
Jimmy Vesey, Philip Hedl, Blake Wheeler.
Whoa.
That's my third line. I'd stick Blake Wheeler on that third line, let him just kind of, be the old guy with Hedl, and Vesey's turning into the old guy at this point.
Jesus.
I don't mind this top line. I don't mind that. Mm-hmm. I honestly, at this point, I'd probably, Trocheck's more of a passer. You got to keep these 2 together, right?
Yep.
So I'd probably move Lafreniere to the top line and then Kakko down 1. So
I like
But
it.
yeah, I think Rangers are a good team. That's why I really
We both have them in playoff spots. Like
yeah.
technically speaking, like I've got them in the third Metropolitan spot. You've arguably got them in a wild card spot.
Well, and I think if I took more than a couple minutes to just blatantly throw my fucking list together, I'd probably have Rangers at 3.
Okay.
But I think for the purpose of the pod, I will fight to the bitter end for Sorokin. So
Sure. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, and then back to agreeing with each other. The New Jersey Devils at number 2. Folks, this is a good hockey team.
Yeah, they are.
This is, I think they finally are starting to round into something that let's start from the bottom real quick here, though.
This is where they're scary.
Yeah, let's start with scary and then move out from there.
Okay.
Do you think that they try to upgrade this? Like, would the New Jersey Devils be in the Gibson market?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Okay.
there's no excuse that they aren't, right? Especially if the Ducks are willing. Especially if Vanacek or Schmid played pretty good for a good stretch of the year last year, right? So if the Ducks were like, hey, we want one of these guys to come back, I think they're clearly in the Gibson sweepstakes.
Okay.
To me, especially if you're bringing Gibson, and he's still pretty young, dude. I think he's like 30. I think Vanacek does it, right? And then worst case scenario, you got Schmid as your backup, right? I think a package involving Vanacek gets that done. This team skyrockets to the top. I know Gibson was voted when one of the top 10s was like the most overrated player.
That was by somebody that we gave him hella shit for too.
Yeah,
that was just a Twitter guy.
That's fine. I get it, right? Like there is a lot of talk about how Gibson, how good Gibson is and shit like that, and he's been on shit teams for the last 5 years. That guy is still a fucking stud, man.
And for 4, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 of those 5 years, he's put up above 900, which as a loose Seattle Kraken podcast, we were happy if fucking Grubauer got above 900.
No, 100%. And
so the fact that this guy was on a bad team like the Ducks and was posting, anywhere from 910 to 920 save percentages, pretty fucking good.
It is pretty fucking good, and Dallas Eakins was a nice gentleman, but man, he was not an NHL coach. So he was so focused on scoring goals and shit, and he still didn't have a good fucking plan for that. But he just forgot that defense even existed, and yeah, Gibson got fucking shelled, man. It's so hard.
Is such a stacked team. I fucking love this team. I'm
so
happy for New Jersey. I've wanted them to be good for so long.
I was a Scotty obviously being an Alaska kid, I was a Scotty Gomez fanboy. So it's good to see New Jersey back in it.
Yep. So looking at this, Ross, Dawson Mercer, Nico Herscher, Timo Meier, what a great fucking first line.
Unreal. That's fucking unreal.
That is just unreal. It's almost not worth talking about. Nico Herscher is one of the best all around guys. That guy is just on everything, doing everything right. His game reminds me of a Matty Beniers, and I know it should be the other way around. It should be Matty Beniers reminds me of Nico Herscher because of the age difference. But again, loosely a Seattle Kraken podcast. Nico Herscher just does everything right. The guy is everywhere doing everything. Dawson Mercer, he's a scorer, man. He's a fucking jammer.
He turned into a fucking stud. He had a 15-game point streak or something stupid last year. He is a fucking stud. And then, just throw Timo Meier.
Oh yeah, just casually throw in
toss
Timo
him
fucking
on
Meier.
The fucking line.
Yeah.
I think you really start to see how fucking sick this team is when you get to, they kind of had Jack Hughes lined up on the fucking second line with Tyler Toffoli.
Jack Hughes is
a second line center, and then just throw Jesper Bratt, who didn't have as great of a year last year, but he's still
pretty
sick.
fucking good.
Yeah, it's just stupid, dude. The third line is one that I like to talk about. I think this is an interesting line. This is one, honestly, if their goalies didn't have such a big question mark for me, This team easily wins this division.
Yep.
Because I think you get into even this top 9. Alexander Holtz, like, he's just kind of, we're still kind of waiting for him to have that just crazy year. Like, he's played pretty good in the AHL, but
Sure.
We're just kind of waiting on him. But then you stick Eric Holla and
Eric
and
Holla
Andre
is
Palat,
a
who has
fucking
multiple
warhorse,
cups.
man.
Oh, it's stupid.
Absolute fucking warhorse. Like, that
Stupid.
guy he goes where he's needed. He basically has played on as many teams as fucking Yager at this point.
Sure.
But he goes everywhere, and he's not traded because he's bad. Like, he's traded because he's good at what he does and fills that role perfectly. And I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Eric Holla and Andre Palat. Like, honestly, like I think that he's kind of low. Like, I think Palat could easily play a second line role if he wanted to.
Yeah, but I think where he's at in his career, this is a perfect spot
Sure.
for him.
Sure.
I think it's very similar to the Wheeler thing for me. Right? Yeah. He's not as old as Wheeler, but I think, he kind of brings that. Like, I want Palat with Holtz over anyone else in this top 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and Holla, right? I think this is just whoever. Hey, shout out to dailyfaceoff.com. Whoever made this lineup, it's a nice top 9. I like that.
Yep, absolutely. And that third line, that fourth line, that's a solid fourth line.
It's not bad. Not bad at all. I like these two guys a lot.
When you're talking about fourth lines, you're not looking to blow the world away. You just want your best optimal fourth line is somebody that's not going to get you scored on. Sure. Like when that line, if that fourth line is plus minus 0 at the end of the year, that was a good fourth line.
Yeah, it sure is. And they got in a couple scraps,
There you go.
Yep.
Defense. So in addition to the defense, or in addition to the goalie, rather, historically the defense has always been an issue with the New Jersey Devils.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're finally getting around to fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it leans very offensive. Like Luke Hughes, John Marino, and Dougie Hamilton are offensive-minded defensemen.
Mm-hmm. So is Kevin Ball a little bit.
Okay, so I didn't know much about him. So you've got a defensive core that is very skilled, but leans more toward being offensive, not defensive. So that this has been New Jersey's problem is you've got a lot of guys, even on the back end, that are contributing to the offense, which is not a bad thing. But if you have that, then you need to have somebody solid in goal. And that's been the issue. Like when Mackenzie Blackwood is a hop, skip, and a jump from becoming the goalie, you got problems.
Yeah, and I mean, Vanacek played really good for stretches last year.
Yes.
Right?
Inconsistent would be the best way to put him.
Sure. And so did Schmid when they needed him to play well.
So maybe they're a good one too.
Yeah. So, I agree. I think this is definitely an area, right? They're super stacked on forwards. Luke Hughes with a little bit of extra, time in the NHL, a little bit of extra time to cook. This kid's gonna be fucking sick.
Yep.
Right. And John Marino's not a bad player, so I don't hate their
I like John
6. Marino. I just it's a little, even Kevin Ball is young, dude. I mean, 3 of their 6 are pretty fucking young. Siegenthaler isn't bad. And Brandon Smith isn't absolutely god awful, but so I mean,
he's fine.
He's fine. It's just their D is a little sketchy. You just don't know what you're gonna get, right? Luke Hughes can be a fucking world beater, for all we know, right? And then this team jumps to a favorite instantly, right? I mean, I think if Luke Hughes has any kind of a season close to Dougie, we're looking at a pretty fucking stacked team.
You throw you throw a Gibson on this team that's going to put up a 915.
Good God, dude.
Absolutely.
On this team, even with this D, I guarantee you
he could put up a 900.
I guarantee
and they'll outscore their problems.
Yes, but I also guarantee you that Gibson puts up at least a 920. I think on a good team with a good coach and a good system, that guy is right back to what he was doing for the Ducks when they were pushing.
Yearn for consistency. They need if they could just get a goalie that puts up 905,
that's what Vanacek was doing, dude. I mean, Vanacek had a decent year, and so
but it's not consistent 905. It's 905 because one day he gets a shutout, and the next day he lets in 10. you know?
Sure.
Like that, they need consistency. They need to be able to be like, okay, we're going to allow 1 to 3 goals a night. If we score 4 goals every night, we're going to win the hockey game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just how to look at it. But offense is not the problem on this team. If I was the opposition's goalie and defense, I would be very worried about this team.
Yeah, it's just fucking waves.
Yeah, it is. They will score. This team is going to score goals. One gambling advice: bet the over on the Devils the next.
This is a first line. This is a first line. You could argue this might be a second line.
Yep.
You know,
that's a fourth line.
That's a fourth line. But I mean, yeah, 2 firsts in a second line in your top 3. That's stupid.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. This is going to be an interesting team to watch. They're going to be fun. The Devils are going to be fun to watch next year.
Yes,
and I would definitely bet the over. Either they're getting scored on, they're scoring the goals, or both.
Well, especially if they don't make a move for Tendy, there's a good chance those games are gonna be 6-5.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, to wrap up the episode and the list, we've got the Carolina Hurricanes at number 1, and folks, it's well deserved.
Sure is.
This team is so. To wrap up, I mean, they made a deep playoff run with a very injured team.
Mm-hmm.
That it ended up being that scoring kind of dried up because of the injuries that they had. But man, oh man, this team is just 4 deep.
Yeah, I honestly, like, there's not a ton of big names past, right? So I mean, you know, people casual
TV Teravainen.
Right. I mean, he's too low. He's a third liner, but and he could easily start slotting into some of these top 2 lines. But
when you've got Teuvo Teravainen on your Teuvo Teravainen on your 4th line, like, you know that you've got depth then.
Yeah, and I do like Jack Drury. Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of big names, right? I think
no, but it's solid.
Yes, and I think it's solid, and we've seen the only guy compared to the team that just was super injured and lost to Florida last year, they just brought in Michael Bunting, who, as much as we make fun of him, is not a bad addition to this team. Solid player, right? So
I think he's slated a little too high there. I think somebody will take that top spot. He's more of a second, third line guy in my opinion, but
I think all of these lines are bad.
Okay, yeah. So the guys are good. Whoever did this on Daily Faceoff, probably I agree. I would probably shift these around a little bit.
I occasionally also indulge in the Mary Jane. So I could have probably made something like this too, on one of those days. So
that's fair.
That's fair. But yeah, I mean, I get that you're trying to spread it out a little bit, but Svet should probably be on the top line, or he should at least have somebody that's gonna fucking help him.
Svet will probably be up there. Michael Bunting goes down. Yeah, I get it, but the fact that, I mean, when you look at this roster and the 2 guys that I understand that you're saying that, like, they don't have star power. I get that. Like, the closest star they have is Aho, right?
Yeah.
So but what does this roster remind you of? Maybe, like, I don't know, the Golden Knights, who maybe just won the Stanley Cup, where they had is Jack Eichel a star? Yes. And then everybody else is just kind of like that's like they're good players, but he was surrounded by good players and they had a depth team. So you've got Aho, that one guy that can do that, and everybody else is just solid. Jesper Fast is solid. Jordan Staal is solid. Right. Jordan Markinick is solid. Like, the 2 guys that are no-namers, and that's a loose quote, are Drury and Noason.
Mm-hmm.
And those are solid players.
Yeah, I mean, Drury's young, and Noason's been around the league a little bit. So yeah, I think you could shuffle these a little bit, but you start looking at some of the names and stuff like that. So I think what's important here is to just kind of look at very similar offense to what they had last year. And that's the only thing that concerns me with this team is I think,
they were hurt.
Injuries definitely hurt them, right? But they didn't score at all in that fucking, against Florida. So
they were hurt.
I agree. I think it's a little concerning. I would have wanted to
against Florida, you mean?
Yes. Well, that's
Yeah.
I thought I said Florida.
I think you said Vegas.
Oh, Florida. Yeah, so I would like to see them bring in someone a little bit stronger up front, but I think, I mean, getting to where they got, getting to where they've been the last few years in the playoffs,
But
it
this
is what
isn't
it
their
is, man.
strength. Like the offense is solid, like a very like B plus A minus. Let's go to the defense.
And it got even fucking better. That's what's
This defense
fucking
is
insane, dude.
This defense is I would love.
It's the best six in the league.
It's the best six in the league. It is the
there's no
best six in
debate.
the league. You and I would argue that it is. There's no debate about this. I would love to hear somebody come up with a better six, but it can't.
Ooh, we should post that because
Okay, all right.
I'm curious
Somebody
to see that.
tell us what better six there are on defense than the Carolina Hurricanes, because I don't think you can find it.
Let me think.
Dmitry Orlov is your third line defenseman. Holy fuck!
That's insanity, dude.
Dmitry
Honestly,
Orlov
I think
is a first, second line guy.
if you want to get technical about it, I think that third pairing is probably your second pairing. But you're gonna look me in the eye and tell me Brady Shea.
Though.
You're splitting hairs, right? Because Brady Shea and Brett Pesce are, you can probably just log them into the third pairing, but fuck, that's a second pairing on most teams, dude.
That's a second pairing too. Like this is the best defensive
it's
core
fucking stacked
in the league.
dude.
It's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. They're just gonna roll defense. Like what's your power play? You just roll the D?
Just all defense.
Yeah. You could throw out any Dmitry Orlov and Tony DeAngelo could easily run a power play unit.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And yes, I've had a couple beers today, but I can't think of a D that I could even make any sort of a argument.
No,
against this D.
There's nothing that even comes close.
It's
ridiculous. Like in my eyes, there's nobody that even comes close.
Wait, I want to check one real quick.
Okay, go for it. Let me know. I'll continue with that. No, it's not. Nope.
Oh God, no, it doesn't even. I mean, it gets close, but not any.
No,
like
three, 4 out of the 6 instead of the 6 out of 6.
Right.
No, it's not even.
That's insane, dude. That's
not
fucking insane.
It's sick. Like it's absolutely sick. And bringing on Tony DeAngelo, like politics and shit aside, who didn't lose their minds during the pandemic?
Right. I bought so many fucking board games during the pandemic, dude. Like that. So you're telling me that I'm not losing my mind? Come on.
Yeah. Tony is. You take the politics out of it. He is a very skilled hockey player, a very good offensive defenseman. Like this is a good fucking. This is amazing.
Let's roll down to the goalies real quick. This is kind of our this is both of our top teams. So I do want to touch on the goalies before we kind of sign off today.
I think this is B plus goaltending.
There's a special place in my heart for Freddie Anderson being
because he was hurt by. Oh, okay, as a Ducks fan.
Yeah,
was he hurt because of the Toronto fans, and we just want to stick up for him?
Well, I think a little bit of that too. Right, there's just a lot of things working for me with Freddie Anderson. I mean, he's also a ginger, so I mean, there's just a lot.
Gingers stick together.
Yeah, that's right, dude. Like we have a meetup.
Gingers fly together.
Gingers fly together. There's like a meetup every Tuesday or whatever.
I saw the South Park episode. I know.
Yeah. So, it's the same tendies. Just run it back. I think the only thing, both of these tendies are just a little bit injury prone, and I think that's a little scary. I think what makes me feel even better about this team, right? You can look at this name, Frederick Anderson. Look at this name, Antti Ranta. There's also a guy that they have in the AHL, Peter Kochenkov or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how you say it, but he was a fucking stud last year when these guys were kind of in and out because they were just basically trying to have two goalies because one of these guys was hurt for a majority of the regular season last year, right? So they also have Kochenkov, right? Like worst case scenario, both of these guys go down and Kochenkov just carries this fucking team like he was doing. He literally he was like the most picked up player in fantasy for like months, dude, because he just kept fucking killing it. And behind this D, you could stick a fucking pylon in there, dude. Come on. So yeah, I think as much as I like, as much as I like New Jersey and I like New York, don't hate the Islanders, don't hate Penguins and that kind of shit.
Hmm.
This team with that defense, with a very similar offense, healthy offense to what they had last year, it's just it's theirs to not get, it's theirs to lose, right? It's theirs to not get first place in this division.
You've got B plus A minus offense, you've got A plus defense, and you've got B plus
A minus goaltending. Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
This is a stacked team.
I agree, and I think if you see Kochenkov, I think this team gets even better if you see that third fucking string goalie.
It's hard to
it's crazy.
Like if you're sitting here going and you're the Arizona, or not the Arizona Coyotes, if you're the fucking Carolina Hurricanes, like what else can you do to make this team better? Like add maybe some off, like you said, add maybe a scorer.
Yeah, they needed a little more up front. I think Michael Bunting is a good addition. Michael Bunting could also be a third line fucking guy, right? You need somebody besides Svechnikov and Aho that's going to put the puck in the back of the net on a consistent basis. And I think Tavern is too fucking low, right? So he's going to fill in up here somewhere. But they could have easily used. They needed a goal scorer, but I mean, with this defense, dude, you don't need to score that many goals. So
yeah, I agree.
That's crazy.
All right, folks, that is it for our Metropolitan Division wrap up and talking about the showcase. Next episode, it is during the summer, so we're doing every other week now. We will be jumping over to the Atlantic Division.
Sure will.
Talking about some teams that we are happy to talk about over there. So we're excited for that. We'll even share some more showcase content with you, some interviews from that, probably bring in the interview from John Cooper.
Oh, Coop was the man.
Old Coop coming in. God,
Coop
that was such
man.
a great interview. So good time. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to us on whatever you guys take in our content on YouTube. Go to Spotify. Go to Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, rather. They changed that up. I'm old. In any case, find us, follow us, and I hope you guys have a good time.